I'm Carmen Amato in Tennessee, here with.
Jane Berrick, writing as Berrick Ford in the UK.
So the
Mm.
character is going to change, it's going to progress. There's going to be a lot of character development over the lifespan of the series. So, how much backstory do you have to put in so that the next book in the series, somebody who hasn't read books 1 through 5 can dip in and just start reading?
Mm.
And that's always a challenge. I don't know if you're finding that as you work on book 4 in the Twilight
Um,
thrillers.
I think I found shorthand ways of saying it, so it's not going to bore the reader who's read the previous 3 books, but it's also just enough to catch somebody up who's starting at book 4.
Okay,
I think
you have a shorthand secret. I want to hear this.
I say something like and student police constable Tamsin Poldu, who had often worked with Detective Inspector Rigo before. That sort of thing. Kathy Reichs does it she does it very overtly in the Temperance Brennan books. She says, let me explain why I work in both Canada and North Carolina, or South Carolina, wherever it is. She talks directly to the reader, and she does it in a couple of paragraphs. Or then she'll say, and my maybe boyfriend, Andrew Ryan, Lieutenant Detective, more about that later. And she'll sort of skip through it like that. But it's quite nice because it's a very direct way of communicating with the reader.
Do you think that books written in the first person, narrated, by the main character, have an advantage in that?
Um, I don't. Wow. I oh, I thought you might be asking me that. I don't know because when I started the books, I went backwards and forwards with that thought.
Oh,
And then I decided, yes, you might have an advantage when you're talking directly to the person reading the book, but I sort of went for not quite an omnipresent narrator because I don't have. What I do is follow a police investigation. So I'm not saying 30 miles away in the back streets of Birmingham, the bad guy was doing X, Y, and Z. I don't do that. So I'm not an omnipresent narrator. I do try and keep it from the 2 main characters' point of view, though. So I do switch between those.
so by switching between those, did that obviate the ability to use a first person narrator? You could have had Tamsin be the
I could
by
have, yeah.
Tamsin, and then you could
In
have
the
had
end, I chose
Rigo.
not to because I thought for this kind of story it would be too limiting. Because apart from anything else, she's a student officer, so she's gone not going to know what the big decisions are. And he actually says that to her in the first book. Your senior officer may not be telling you everything, and there may be a reason for that. You can't assume that you have the full story because there might be reasons we're not telling you everything.
Do you think readers try then to poke holes in your timeline or the
Yeah, because I know
details?
I do that with other books. I mean, in the Kathy Reichs books, for about 19 of the 23 books, the characters' eyes are green, and then suddenly in book 20, they're hazel.
Oh,
And I've seen in the Will Trent books. In the first book, he's William Trent. By the 20th book, whatever it is, he's Wilbur Trent. So
I've
yeah,
read those books and never noticed that.
yeah.
Oh, you're
I,
good with detail. Oh.
you think you know your characters so well, it's actually easy to trip up.
I think that's why so many writers of a series will refer to having a series Bible. In which,
I've had to start one, yeah,
yeah,
because I've got so many, and you can end up using the same names. You might end up saying you've got 5 Harrys or 6 Georges or something like that. So
the Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny, the Canadian
yeah,
writer. Okay, and he is the head of homicide for Quebec's Charité, and then he becomes head of the Charité, and then he kind of goes back and forth in his career, but his son-in-law is introduced as a younger character. There's some female cops who come in to play roles, sort of expanding the universe a bit. A reader follows the series because they love that universe, that sense of place and time and just the emotional heft of that series, which for the Gamache series, the one thing, if you go through and you like read reviews, readers will always reference Olivier's Bistro and how they would love to be there having hot chocolate and croissants with the crowd of people who live in this quirky village of Three Pines. So that to me says the reader wants that universe. They want to, for Detective Amelia Cruz, I think the pull of Acapulco is a big part of the success of the series. She's aging slowly, and she's dealing with a lot of crime, corruption, machismo, family secrets, etc. But that Acapulco setting is a big part of it.
Oh, it's another character along with the food, and you always make me hungry when I read your books. I think yes, I want to go to that little diner. I want to be eating what they're eating. I want to be, especially
Well,
when you talk about the smaller roadside places where she stops and grabs some quick lunch or something. They just sound amazing.
well, I don't want to keep harping on the whole Olivier's Bistro and Three Pines, but I was trying to think the other day of perhaps there should be that place in the Detective Amelia Cruz series where everybody wants to hang out. And if I create a spot like that, it'll probably be the Paso Doble bar in the hotel where she lives. So expect some more mojito and margarita
Sounds good to me.
tapas
Sounds good to me.
recipes coming in the series.